JD's daughter dropped an absolute bombshell, deciding to speak out, breaking her silence, and is absolutely wrecked AH. Why? Because she refuses to be anybody's weapon. In fact, JD's daughter talks about how her parents protected her and her brother while growing up, which flies in the face of the narratives AH promoted inside and outside the courtroom, which back up other statements she's made in the past. Statements that people like AH, they definitely want you to ignore. You and I, we are going to talk about all of this stuff today too. Oh man, fun times, huh? Fun times indeed. All right, so hey there to all you fine folks on this fine day, by the way. I hope you are doing excellently. Don't you find it amazing that on the day this bombshell drops from JD's daughter, that AH decided to launch her biggest PR campaign ever? Yeah, it seems like maybe, just maybe, she didn't want people seeing what was said. Maybe that's because AH tried to weaponize JD's kids inside of two courtrooms, both in 2020 and 2022. And JD, he didn't want this stuff at all. In fact, JD passed up many an opportunity to bring up his kids or their mother. In fact, the mother gave a declaration. He didn't bring that up at all, only saying things that rebutted AH. Things like, my daughter, she didn't even come to the wedding. She and AH, they weren't on particularly great terms for several reasons. Now, all of that changed when JD's daughter, Lily Rose, decided that she was going to break her silence. She was going to talk to Elle magazine about everything that has gone on. And one of the themes you're going to see hammered here again and again, in fact, it's part of the byline, is privacy. Lily Rose Depp is an idol rising. The model and actress reflects on fame, privacy, and growing up as she channels her inner pop star in photos inspired by her edgy new HBO series. Now, as far as the idea of silence and privacy is concerned, she brings up old Hollywood and she addresses this issue by saying it's not just the people out there that impressed her. It was this idea that they carried, a mystique, something that her dad taught her about very well. Now, this is where part of the narrative about JD falls apart, because AH always said that JD, he was some kind of absentee monster father. But listen to this here. Quote, her predilection for privacy, it isn't surprising. Fame is something she had to spend a lifetime grappling with as the daughter of JD and Vanessa Paradis. Growing up, my parents protected my brother and me from it as much as possible. The word there, protected. You don't protect somebody if you're absentee. I know my childhood didn't look like everybody's childhood, and it's a very peculiar thing to deal with, but it's also the only thing that I know. Now, from there, she brings up the headlines. And the headlines are 2020's case in the UK, the 2022 case in Virginia. And when she's bringing this up, remember, she's telling you, hey, I'm just doing what my parents taught me to do, and that's value my privacy. Quote, similarly, she's chosen to avoid comments on recent headlines about her famous father. When it's something that's so private and so personal and all of a sudden becomes not so personal, I feel really entitled to my secret garden of thoughts. I also think that I'm not here to answer for anybody, and I feel like for a lot of my career, people have really wanted to define me by the men in my life, whether that's my family members or boyfriends or whatever, and I'm really ready to be defined for the things that I put out there. Now, personally, I thought this was the perfect answer because you could tell these folks, they wanted to stay clear of the courtroom. That includes the mother too. Nobody wanted to be in that because people like AH, they want to make them part of a sideline attraction. They want to make them part of JD and AH. You have a female here saying, though, that me, I want to be defined not by the men in my life, not because I have a famous father, not because of boyfriends that I've had, but rather because of what I do, the things that I put out there. Now, she adds to this by talking about scrutiny and talking about the world trying to eat you alive if you're not careful. I'm sure she learned that from her father too, by watching what has been aimed at her, her family, all of them for over half a decade now. So she says, there's two me's out there. I say real life as there are two realities. With friends, she's an open book, but I've just been raised in a manner that has taught me that privacy is something that's important to protect. She talks about how, because of that, I don't have a Twitter. Anything that I want to say, I'll say through my work. As far as Instagram, Instagram, that's pretty much a promotional thing. I'm here to do my job, and what I really want to put out in the world is my work. Now, then she talks about her work too, saying, that it's kind of a double-edged sword, because when you're an artist, you make things in the hope that they're going to connect with somebody. But then it comes with this thing where people feel like they know you, even though they don't. I'm not here to give myself to the world to be eaten alive. Now, as part of what AH tried to weaponize, she tried to say there was a disconnect from JD and his kids. All of it was because of her. Well, she ends her interview talking about, at the end of the day, what's really important to me? What really matters? My family, my friends, my loved ones, what those folks think about me. See, like I was saying, the timing of AH's quote-unquote open letter, her biggest PR move to date, it looks like it was meant to silence this discussion, because when you start looking at that, you're not only going to have that brought up, you're going to have other statements brought up. Statements like, my dad is the sweetest, most loving person I know. He's been nothing but wonderful father, and to my little brother and I, and everyone who knows him would say the same. And on top of that, remember, her mother gave a declaration in support of JD, saying, all of this stuff is nonsense. Don't you think if all of this was happening, if his kids were seeing that, the mother, she wouldn't have heard about it? And if she would have heard about it, do you think she would have put out something positive? Do you think his daughter would have remained silent? Absolutely not. Again, this stuff is a wrecking ball, demolishing AH's narratives. So, of course, she's got to hush it up, right? But anyway, let me know what you think about this stuff. And as always, appreciate the heck out of you. You make this stuff work. Thank you. Can't say that enough. Want to help out the channel? Links are in the description. Could always use your help. But you being here, that is the biggest help of all. So thank you. Appreciate you. In and here. See you soon.